There's a moment in every day where something happens, and before we even realize it, we've already reacted. A comment, a look, a text message, a memory. And suddenly our body tightens, our mood shifts, our peace disappears. Ancient wisdom teaches that this moment, this instant of reactivity, is one of the primary sources of human suffering. There's a reason that the same situations keep repeating in your life, why certain conversations trigger you, why specific people seem to have power over your emotional state. This isn't bad luck, it isn't punishment, it's reactivity. Reactivity is not the event itself, it's what happens inside of us when we lose presence. In ancient traditions, including Kabbalah, Buddhism, and Taoism, there's a teaching that our natural state is one of clarity, of presence, of what some traditions call light or consciousness. When we're in this state, we respond to life from wisdom. But reactivity happens when that clarity gets interrupted. Instead of responding from consciousness, we react from old conditioning, unhealed wounds, fear, the need to protect ourselves. Reactivity is automatic, it's fast, it bypasses choice entirely. It pulls us from the present moment and throws us into the past, into patterns we've lived many times before. In mystical terms, reactivity is the moment we hand our power over to something outside of us. Something external now has authority over your internal state. Reactivity doesn't always look dramatic. Often it looks completely normal. So here are some common examples, and you can see if any of these sound familiar. For example, in conversation, someone says something and your mood instantly shifts. You feel defensive before they've even finished speaking. You have the urge to explain yourself, to justify or prove your point. In your mind, you replay conversations over and over. You rehearse what you should have said. You create stories about what someone meant. In your body, you feel tightness in your chest or your throat. Your jaw clenches. You shut down emotionally or go numb. In your behavior, you people please to avoid discomfort. You feel compelled to respond immediately to texts or emails. You feel hooked by certain people or situations. These moments don't feel spiritual, but they are deeply spiritual moments because they reveal where consciousness has left the body. From a mystical perspective, each of these moments is actually a test, not a moral test, but a spiritual one. Will you react, or will you pause and choose? I want to clarify that non-reactivity does not mean being passive, being numb, suppressing your emotions, allowing mistreatment. Non-reactivity means pausing. It is the space between what happens and what you choose to do next. In ancient wisdom, this is called restriction, the sacred pause between stimulus and response. And that pause is where freedom lives. That pause is where consciousness returns. That pause is where your soul steps back in. Think about this. Every choice you are proud of, every moment of clarity, every time you've responded with wisdom instead of wounding, it came from a pause, not from speed, not from reaction, from space. Mystical wisdom teaches that energy follows consciousness. When we react unconsciously, we leak energy. We reinforce old emotional patterns. We stay bound to familiar forms of suffering. This is why the same lessons return in different forms, not as punishment, but as invitations to awaken. Think about your own life for a moment. Are there certain dynamics that keep showing up? Do you find yourself having similar conflicts with different people? Do certain situations consistently drain you? This happens because reactivity keeps us living from memory rather than presence. We're not actually responding to what's happening now. We are responding to what happened then. And the cost of this is real. Chronic stress, relationship conflict, emotional exhaustion, spiritual stagnation. In mystical language, reactivity blocks light from entering the vessel. Or in plain language, it keeps us from accessing our own wisdom. So how do we actually practice reactivity? How do we create the pause when everything in us wants to react? So here are 5 practices. These are simple, but they are powerful. Practice 1, create the pause. When something triggers you, don't respond immediately. Instead, take one breath longer than feels comfortable. Just one breath. Breathe in slowly, hold for a moment, breathe out even more slowly. That single breath interrupts the automatic pattern. And your nervous system registers, oh, I'm safe, I have time. Practice 2, name the sensation, not the story. This is crucial, especially for those of you who experience ADHD symptoms or anyone who gets caught in thought loops or rumination. Instead of telling yourself a story that they disrespected me or they always do this, name what you feel in your body. I feel tightness in my chest. I notice heat in my face. I feel a knot in my stomach. This moves you out of ego and into awareness. It brings you back to the present moment, which is the only place where you have power. Practice 3. Ask the mystical question. Once you've paused and noticed the sensation, ask yourself, what is this moment here to teach me about myself? Not why are they doing this, not how do I fix them, but what is being stirred in me that wants to be seen? Mystical wisdom teaches that life mirrors our inner state. When something or someone triggers us, it's revealing an unhealed place within us. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. Practice 4, delay action. You do not need to respond right away. Not to texts, not to emails, not even to your own emotions. Delayed response is not avoidance, it's mastery. When you give yourself time, you give wisdom a chance to catch up with your reaction. You might wait an hour, you might wait a day, and often you'll find that, well, what felt urgent was not urgent. Practice 5, choose alignment over reaction. Before you respond, ask yourself, what response keeps my energy intact? What would it look like to stay grounded and sovereign right now? Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Sometimes it's speaking clearly and calmly. Sometimes it's walking away. But whatever you choose it consciously. Choose it from presence, not from pattern. Here's what I've witnessed in my own life and in the lives of others who practice this. When you practice non-reactivity consistently, relationships shift or dissolve. The dynamics that depended on your reaction can't survive without it. Old patterns lose their grip. The hooks that used to catch you don't anymore. People treat you differently. When you stop reacting, people stop poking. You feel more grounded and sovereign. You're no longer tossed around by external circumstances. Your intuition strengthens. Clarity emerges when reactivity quiets. Life feels less chaotic, not because circumstances changed, but because you do. From a mystical perspective, this is because you are no longer feeding lower level consciousness. You are no longer giving your energy to patterns that don't serve you. You become a clear vessel for light, for wisdom, for presence, for divine intelligence. And when that happens, life begins to reflect that clarity back to you. So here are some closing reflections. Reactivity keeps us trapped in repetition. Non-reactivity opens the door to transformation. The moment you pause instead of react, you reclaim your power. And slowly, your life begins to reflect that power back to you. So I invite you. Notice today where you are invited to pause. Not to judge yourself, but to choose differently. Maybe it's in a conversation. Maybe it's when you're scrolling and feel triggered. Maybe it's when someone cuts you off in traffic. Just notice. And in that noticing, you might find a breath of space. And that choice is where freedom begins.